Welcome to your favorite channel about all things the motherhood. This is Mushidadi Lihlomeda, speaker, author, and coach. Please like, subscribe, share.
There are so many misconceptions, so many myths, so many limiting beliefs or belief systems and positive stereotypes that are supported by culture, that are supported by religion, that have been part of the human race, perhaps even for centuries, that position mothers as these God-like figures that are all loving and all knowing. And they are the root cause of some of the narcissism that we see in the parenting style of many mothers. And oftentimes we think, oh, it's just trauma and personal trauma, the mother's own mother wound, and perhaps the mother's father wound, and other traumas that may have happened in the mother's life. But oftentimes it's the belief systems and these positive stereotypes that we've inherited without questioning that inform how we position ourselves in parenting, how we show up in parenting, and the type of relationships that we now build with children. And oftentimes, what happens when mothers carry these beliefs that they have to be honored and endured and loved and performed for their children to have blessings in life, that they hold the blessings of their own children in their own hands, and their children have to perform for these blessings to be released to them. That these mothers have to be honored regardless of how they act, that they have to be endured regardless of how they act, and society sort of also cheers on that message without questioning, without putting it under a microscope and saying, is this something that we want to continue perpetuating? When that does not happen, when we do not question these belief systems, and we do not question these positive stereotypes that are put out there about mothers, that are written down in history books, that are part of our religious beliefs, then we leave no room for actual healing of the mother-child relationship. We leave no room for the actual transformation of that relationship, for us to evolve not only in our relationships with our mothers, but as a human race. Because what you see today as the amount of people that have been having mother wounds and just continuing the cycle, and their children inheriting that mother wound. If you were to track down your lineage, the mother wound in your lineage, and I write about this in my book, The Girl Who Survived Her Mother, about just the generational trauma in my family and how it has been there, and I only write about my grandmothers and my mother and me, but I have great grandmothers, and I suspect they also had their own mother wounds that they carried down to their daughters, that eventually ended up being my burden to carry, right? And I think much of that also comes from just that narcissistic approach to mothering that comes from these belief systems that we have inherited from our cultural teachings, that we have inherited from our religious teachings about the position of a mother. And perhaps it was for a good cause to celebrate the role of a mother, but also there are myths and untruths in these texts that contradict the reality that we see today, that we have been experiencing as a human race in regards to mothers and mothering, that I feel when we get to be honest about, and we get to question, and we get to put under a microscope and say, is this true, right? And if it's not true, what are the things that we can do to create healthy communities and to create healthy environments for children at home? Then we are moving forward as a human race. But as it stands, when we hold on to these belief systems, when we hold on to these myths that contradict the reality of the mother-child relationship, that contradict what motherhood actually feels like for mothers, then we create an environment where that narcissistic sort of approach to mothering can thrive. And as a result, we're just going to keep having wounded people that are wounded by their mothers, and these mothers not having to actually introspect and actually having to do the work because they see themselves sanctified, they see themselves justified in their actions, they see themselves vindicated in their behaviors, because there's these ideologies and texts and belief systems and positive stereotypes that have been part of the human race for a very long time that support them in those behaviors, right? So what I'm inviting you to do as people who are healing our mother wound is to give ourselves time to question some of these things. Just because they have been a part of the human race for a very long time and have been part of the belief systems for a very long time does not mean they're true. And perhaps they were true at some point, but they do not serve us now, and they're not true in the moment. What is true in this moment, and what is it that we can do to move forward? What is it can do to heal the mother-child relationship? This is mostly an invite for mothers who are interested in wanting to have better relationships with their children, to have emotional connection, healthy emotional connections to their children, and to also raise well-adjusted children. Is to question the things that you believe about motherhood, is to question the belief systems that you've inherited from your religion and from your culture about mothering that may be in support of narcissistic behaviors in the mother-child relationship that will not serve that relationship, so that you can move towards connecting with your child on a personal level. The belief that your mother, honoring your mother and father, is what then would give you long years on this earth, and also that your blessings are at the hands of your mothers, and that they have to, or your parents, and they have to be pleased with you for you to attain these blessings. Because what happens is, for those of us with a mother wound, we know that most abusive mothers are never pleased. You will do and perform and seek validation, and you just will never get it. They will never be pleased with you. They will never be pleased with anything that you do. You're just not doing enough. You're not enough. You are not enough to them. And there's nothing you could ever do to please a mother that is a bottomless pit, that needs mothering herself and is looking to her children to offer her that mothering. So let's question the belief systems that we have around mothering, around motherhood, around the mother-child relationship, and also just what the position of a mother is in the world, and what good mothering looks like, taking into account what the children say they need, mostly adult children. What is it that they're communicating they needed now that they are older and have better clarity?